Welcome to TeamSpeak, advanced voice communication software for any platform.
The nice, refreshing ambient sounds of...
TeamSpeak allows groups of people to communicate and share information with anyone, via the internet or through private networks. Using your Windows, Mac or Linux-based computer, all you need is a headset with microphone, and in minutes you can be chatting with others in real time, using our crystal clear voice technology.
All right, welcome back to the TeamSpeak StarCraft 2 Open, brought to you by myself, djWHEAT, and Chill. Of course, you can find out more information and all sorts of great information about StarCraft 2, Brood War, and just about anything and everything over at teamliquid.net. We are ready and jumping into game number 2 between Joe, our Protoss, and Fuzer, our Terran. And here we go, the countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And you want to do positions?
Sure, so we're here on game 2. We've got our Terran player Fuzer spawning at the bottom right of Shakira's Plateau. He's up 1-0 in this series, and in the top left as the green Protoss, we have JoJo, under the name just Joe in this case, and actually making this map choice. And in Protoss vs Terran, that's a little curious for me. I think there's a few other maps that are better Protoss vs Terran, but again, it goes back to player comfort. These may not be the most well-versed players with the highest level of tournament experience. So if you're comfortable on a map, you should probably pick it.
So there's more story developing as well, Chill, because we have Fuzer and Joe chatting, and what is going on right now is they're saying the last series that they played, and I get the impression that it was Joe who won it. Joe had said, well, you won the first game last time too. And Fuzer responded with, I was a noob back then. So the story unfolds now as we've got our supply depot and our pylon down. Scouting has begun. And let's see here, as we've got Fuzer basically going over to the other side. And of course, Joe is going to do exactly the same thing. So they'll both scout each other right around the same time.
And amongst all this chatting, it's had a bit of an effect on Joe. He's missed Chrono Boost. He put down his gateway at kind of the economic build, which is a 14 gate. But when you 14 gate, you usually get 2 Chrono Boosts before. But you can see he's got a Chrono Boost working right now, and he's got 30 energy on the Nexus. Yet again, not using it as he's busy chatting. And that's something I would not be doing if I was in the semifinals of a money tournament. Just myself personally, I would definitely not be doing that.
Oh, sorry. I think that's funny. Well, he was, and we'll see if he'll pay for it later on. You can just say, I told you so at the end if Joe can't pull it off. You never know.
No, he's going to come back, man. I feel it. Protoss pride.
You never know. So gateway's down. We got the Cybernetics core just going up. They're still chatting away. I saw a remarkable 16 FPS earlier during the chat, but it does look like they've kind of started to teeter off a little bit there, and almost went for second gas, but instead decided to put down a second gateway at this point. Only a single barracks out
strange.
right now, and we're getting a tech lab on it. And what do we got coming out of there? We just got more Marauders.
So only the one barracks down, and nothing coming out of the tech lab actually, but he's still still mining quite a bit of Vespian gas out of that refinery. So maybe a factory coming down. If he was going to expand, I would expect him not to be mining gas, but we've seen nothing coming out for the Terran player, and an SCV heading over to the natural. So really, I'm not quite sure what's going on in Fuzer's mind here, but it looks like he is going to decide to put down that expansion with 150 extra gas.
Wow, I don't know. Still nothing over there. Maybe he just forgot to get his shells there. But yeah, we got the command center going down. Last time he went with a similar build, but he went with the early concussion cells, and then had a barracks put way up front. And maybe the Protoss is going to do exactly the same thing here. And they are in the positions to do it, I suppose. You know, there is quite a bit of of space to run through here. Of course, the important part of these positions is controlling these towers, and that is something that Joe is at least trying to actively do with the Stalker. But if these Marauders move out, they will just chew through that Stalker. Now we have Stim going, so some spending of that gas. Jill.
And the problem for me with Joe's play is he's kind of playing right in the middle. He's playing like ridiculously safe, right? He hasn't taken a stand one way or the other. He's not teching very high. He's got 2 gateways, no robotics. He's not aware of the expansion. So the problem's going to come if he puts down this Nexus, which it looks like he's going to. He drops it right there. Is he's done basically a safe expansion, but he's way behind the Terran expansion, which has just completed. Now he's moving up with a random Stalker. Luckily, those Marauders don't have their concussive shells, or that would have been good night for the Stalker. So at least he's aware of the expansion, and he needs to lean in one direction or the other. He can't go for, like, you know, a 2-gate robo after expansion. He needs to either tech heavy or put down a lot of gateways or take a quick expansion. He needs to take a stand one direction or the other.
Well, it looks like he's going to do just a slight deviation from build that he did last time. You know, he's going to continue to go bio here, but it looks like less Marauders and a few more Marines, as we have 2 barracks with reactors on them right now. Marauders coming out of the barracks tech lab, and SCV going to come over, continue to scout. Over here, just sentries to basically, you know, put himself in a defensive position. So I agree with everything you said about this being a really, really scary position here for the Protoss right now. We do have a robotics facility and another gateway going down, and last time he also did not really do much with that robo facility. Now, of course, he's going to get the observer coming out of there and hopefully get some units out as well. He's got a good transfer coming over here. He'll put down another assimilator as well. But this army from Fuzer, it's gonna start pumping out units here real fast.
Yeah, it's getting pretty big, and actually he's got 2 reactors. This is kind of atypical of what we see out of a lot of European Terrans. Looks like he's really focusing on the Marines here, and that's going to be strong in the early game. But as soon as we get to any sort of units that deal area of effect damage, like Colossi or Templar with their Psionic Storm, that's going to start to pose a problem. But if Fuzer has a timing that hits before we get to there, Stalker's rolling out. Getting picked off.
Oh, that's so bad right now. There's only 4 sentries up here. They're all going to have to spend their force fields to keep them out. There's one. And that's the problem. This ramp, you could still kind of maneuver around it using that hill very nicely. He does do a good job of backing his opponent off, but there are going to be a lot of units coming up here in just a moment. And Fuzer does not look like he wants to back down from this.
Yeah, I'm surprised Fuzer doesn't need to attack here, but he continues to push forward. He's wasting a lot of sentry energy, but he's just donating units back to the Protoss cause here. He's already done the damage, even the psychological damage, by just pressing out and pressuring his opponent and forcing force fields to be casted, wasting energy. He doesn't need to continue attacking here, but it looks like that's all he has on his mind. And what is going on in the bottom right? Are those 4 Stargates?
What?
Or starports, excuse me.
Yes, I was like, I don't see anything Stargates down there. Yeah, 4 starports over here. Also, the Protoss player supply blocked himself briefly, and he had to throw down some quick pylons over here. We're getting near there for Joe, and Joe gets full vision of this. He's going to be like, dude, what is up? Like, what? Is it just going to be, dude, have you seen those players that go mass medevac? He's going to tech lab, tech lab is now going to be mass medevac.
Looks like he's going to transition into Banshees because he's got a lot of gas saved up. He could even put out some Ravens, but
that's out
with
of
that
control.
observer floating right overhead, that's not what you want to see when you're trying to transition into some sneaky Banshee play. 1 Banshee coming out, and yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a Banshee transition. I really, really cannot emphasize how much I don't like this.
You don't like the transition to Banshees?
Well, you know, why don't you go 2 starports and sprinkle in some Banshees with your Marine Marauder?
Right.
You don't need to say like, fuck it, I'm going Banshee. Like, this is a little excessive, and we can see 2 Stargates.
Yeah.
So Joe is going the hard counter approach, just gonna crank out those Phoenixes, and you know, Banshees can't hit air, so that could be a problem.
That could be. We've got Fuzer wanting to move forward here just a little bit. Few Zealots come out. He's got an observer back here, so he knows exactly what he deals. And it looks like he wants to commit to a battle here. He does cut off a few of the units, trying to move in now. Zealot's becoming ineffective with those force fields, something they got to watch out. Great slice right through the army, and he did a great job just like hacking that down like a tree a little bit. A few more chops and it'll go timber. And he wants to move forward, and it's really surprising to me. He is going to get quite a few more units, trapping 2 Marauders down here and getting the rest. And what a huge mistake for Fuzer moving forward and committing to any of those battles right there, as right now the Protoss has an enormous army composition and could probably move right in. Now, what's going on with these Banshees? We have Cloak just now getting started, and there are a lot of Banshees, dude. There are a lot of Banshees. I'm surprised we haven't seen, I mean, yeah, the Phoenixes are coming out, but I'm actually surprised we haven't seen any sort of cannon defense at all. I don't know. Maybe it's not the harass. It's just trying to raise to the ground units with those.
Here go the Banshees on their mission westward. I wonder if Joe is aware of this. Looks like he's not aware of it as he's just moving his army around. But the Phoenixes are the big problem here. Phoenix is moving southward, going to take a peek into the main base. Probably do some harassment there, picking up the building SCVs. Banshees, looks like they just have main base kill on their mind. They're flying right in, probably going to target the probes, but they could go for the Nexus kill. Just floating right overhead and going to start to rain down on all these probes at Joe's Natural.
Yeah, and the Phoenixes are way behind, and they got caught up on the Marines chasing those other Banshees. And this is what I was talking about. If he would have just had a couple of cannons at his defense, sure, he was using the Phoenixes nicely, but I think this Nexus, I don't know. There's the Cloak, and the observers are not here. Oh my God. He made 2 observers after his last Immortal 2, and not one of them were around the base. And now they're going to walk in. They're also going to see this expansion over here. Start to work on that, but still nowhere to be found. If he would have had the cannons, he would have had the detection. And these Phoenixes can only watch in amazement as their base gets absolutely destroyed. There comes an observer, a little late there, Joe. But, you know, it is a slow little unit. And look at that, even one single Marine.
The Banshees are actually split up 2 by 2. So there's actually 2 in the main base harassing. There was 1 at the bottom left working on the Nexus, and 4 escaped back into Fuzer's main base. So he's taking almost no damage and still harassing with these Banshees in the main base, taking out so many probes. Oh my God. The supplies before those Banshees were about 110 for Protoss and about 80 for Terran. And right now we're at 125 for Terran, actually 134 for Terran as I speak, and only 87 for Protoss. And he's at 2,000 minerals. So clearly succumbing to the mental pressure is our Protoss player Joe.
Now, here's the good news, is that because of this, Fuzer had to build up a ton of Marines. And a while ago, we, of course, got the robotics base, so I don't think we have any Colossus out yet, but he certainly can transition to that if he, if he can get the economy to do so. He also won that last big battle with a pretty sizable army, so he's got a lot of units that he's able to reuse here. So hopefully he can pump economy, but this is a perfect time to attack, and here it comes. Look at all those Marines and then the Banshees as well. He's going to move forward. Does he have enough Zealots to get the job done? Oh my God, the Phoenixes go bye-bye, and that means these Banshees are going to do a lot of groundwork cleanup. If he would have had 1 or 2 Colossus out here, that army would have been had a completely different outcome on it. And look at that. Look at the army tab now, down to 600, 40 to 127. Cannons coming up a little bit too late. Wow.
You know, it never ceases to amaze me how much damage Banshees do. Sometimes I always feel like oh, I've got this. I can take that many Banshees. And they always do like 50 to 100% more damage than you think they're going to do. So this build really worked nicely. The Marines just cleaning up the Phoenixes so quickly. And Fuzer, with this little bit awkward build, looks like he's going to steamroll through into the finals. Wow, I'm really impressed by this. I did not like this build. I didn't give him a chance. And look at the result.
Well, we learned a lesson. Is that what you're saying? You can't.
I learned a lesson for sure.
Even though we've never seen this guy, that making 4 starports and just going crazy Banshee might be a good idea. But again, I have to be honest, right? By the way, it was a really good army composition here by Fuzer. really, Joe should have reacted twofold. The Phoenixes were one thing. Good for Fuzer. He caught the Phoenixes way out of position. When they were returning to base, they flew over those Marines. So there were a lot of mistakes from Joe that allowed that tactic to be successful. If you would have looked at a few cannons at those expansions and one in the main, that could have been totally different. Now, granted, a lot of Banshees like that can take out, those can take out those cannons pretty easily in those numbers, but it at least would have bought him some time.
Yeah,
it worked. But
the other thing, when you scout 4 starports and you transition by going to Stargate Phoenix, you don't need to be harassing with those Phoenixes. The purpose of your Phoenixes are just to kill the Banshees. So to have the Phoenixes anywhere but sitting in the middle of the map, just waiting bloodthirsty for those Banshees is really silly. And I think actually Fuzer got a little bit lucky. I don't think he moved out in reaction to the Phoenixes coming out. I think he just happened to move out, and the Phoenixes happened to move into his main base. But that put the Phoenixes way, way out of position, and that was a big problem.
Yeah, and he chased those other two. The other two that had just come out, he was like, oh, sweet, let me go chase those guys. And that didn't prove out to be good because, and I've done that before, man, where you, like, mutas at someone else's base. You're like, oh, shit. You bring them back and they fly through like a swarm of Marines.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit, what can you do? We've seen it happen many, many times. So timing maybe got a little bit too anxious. Although, I wouldn't say I was, I would say that Joe was a jobber by any means. He did have some decent play, although he did finally fall to Fuzer, winning 2-0 on that one. And now we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, Chill, it's going to be Nurchio, our random player, versus Envious, who I believe is also a Terran player. And we're going to be loading up those replays, guys, and we will be coming back. So let me quit out of here. And don't go away, because in just a moment we will be returning. And we'll just throw this in. All right, Chill, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.